Hey everyone, it's LS, and this video is of the new champion that we have all been waiting for so long. It is Zahen. It's a mix between a Darkin and a Shuriman type thing going on here. He's got a little bit of Alucard type vibes. He's got some anti-hero, other type stuff going on, and honestly, he's looking like a little bit of League's Adonis here, so Aphelios can finally move over. Let's just jump into his abilities and what he is doing, because this champion has a very overloaded kit that I don't quite understand exactly how Riot is going to balance. So his passive is Cultivation of War. Zahen's attacks and abilities against enemy champions grant him stacks of determination. Gaining bonus attack damage per stack when filled with determination, Zahen gains increased attack damage and can revive. And I've seen the revive, it's absolutely disgusting. At one point, he's even able to resurrect with 70% max HP, so I'm not really quite sure what they're going to do with that one. Q, the Darkened Glaive. Zahen slashes twice on his next attack, dealing bonus damage and healing himself. Zahen can recast this ability to have his next attack deal bonus damage and knock up his target, which is very akin to, obviously, Xin Zhao, with the knock up and everything like that. W, Dreaded Return. Zahen stabs in a direction, damaging enemies, hit, and pulling them towards him. This is kind of like a Nautilus hook, but the skill shot is a lot thinner, and it seems like it's a little bit more difficult to hit, but it also says enemies, so there's a plural on that one. I'm not really quite sure how this is balanced on a basic ability. E, Orient Rush. Zahen dashes to a location and slices around himself, so this is a very basic ability. R, Grim Deliverance. Zahen rises and then stabs downward, damaging enemies and healing for a portion of the damage dealt. This feels like it's a nod to the very old Aatrox before he ended up getting reworked, but it also feels like it's a combination of Pantheon with the way that it ends up looking, and obviously this item just looks super busted. All of the aesthetics on his tooltips look amazing, so I also can't point out how much Riot knocked it out of the park with all of the art and design on this champion. Obviously, inside of the 1v1 fights, it actually doesn't look like he's dealing that much damage rapidly, but because he has the revive and he has all this obnoxious amount of dashing and CCing and everything, things are definitely going to be a little problematic for him. It also seems like he can actually cancel CCs. He's going to have some Riven-esque things going on, and the Resurrect truly does seem obnoxious. The range on his abilities also doesn't really seem that balanced, and it seems like Zaahen has a lot of forgiveness inside of his kit. The speed at which, even in 1v1, he actually stacks his passive seems relatively disgusting when you consider how much AoE this guy has and the CC that he's providing. I'm really curious to know at the time of recording this what his ratios are on anything. He's probably going to hit the PPE very soon. We're all going to get answers on that. But this does genuinely seem like it's going to be a bit of a balancing nightmare. Either he's going to be like Release Aatrox, in which he just causes chaos pretty much everywhere for a long period of time until being relegated to the void, sort of like current Aatrox is, and that he's only picked against basically ball-type comps and comps where he can really be valuable, or he's going to have an extreme dependency on certain items because, again, his kit is just overloaded. He looks like a bruiser, but because of how much stuff is going on inside of his kit and because of the Resurrect, he's also going to play like a Juggernaut, and that just does not seem balanced whatsoever. The one good thing to note is that he does have mana, and so that is an interesting characteristic. Fortunately, this is not just a monolith champion or one that has energy or anything like that, so there is going to be some weakness there. From all the clips and videos that we've seen so far, it seems like he does have quite an obnoxious amount of HP, anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000, which also makes his Resurrect even that much stronger. His skill shots don't seem that hard to hit other than the W, and it just gives him a lot of options inside of teamfights because of how nimble he is. I can see this champion definitely being a problem with, building Black Cleaver or things of that nature, and just being a sticking menace inside of teamfights, that because of his Resurrect, fortunately he can't move with it like the old Aatrox can, so he is stationary, which does make him a little bit more vulnerable to certain things, and you can obviously time CC against his Resurrect. That gives you a little bit of counterplay against him, but overall it does seem like things are going to be problematic. Riot has said that he is primarily a top laner, but also intend for him to be able to play it in the jungle, but they're supporting him as a top laner. I do personally hope that he is able to go multiple roles, and generally whenever a champion is able to be played in top lane, it also means that they have potency to be in mid lane. In one of the clips that we're seeing, we're actually seeing how gross his healing can be, and the usage of his ultimate and what that actually means. This is again, going to definitely pose problems in the later stage team fights, where a champion with a Resurrect, this much speed, this much ability to just get around things, dash, and avoid CC and things, just very overtuned. Regardless, though, I think everything about this champion is just amazing. The cinematic was absolutely flawless. The aesthetics of the champion are absolutely divine. The kit is overloaded in a way that I think actually does allow them to balance him, much like Aatrox actually is, but I can really see him getting out of hand, so I do like that. And I like also that the very nature of the kit does actually allow him to function with utility, and that does mean that he is able to go into other roles without just being relegated to dependency on mid or top lane due to relying on having to get a lot of gold or levels. Some of this is obviously speculation, waiting to see his ratios and waiting to see exactly how he deals out his damage and whatnot. Those are going to be the really important things. Hey, maybe there's even a world where this champion actually also ends up as support. It does seem like, just because of his innate healing and the Guardian Angel and everything else, even if his damage is not extreme or something, he's going to even be able to fulfill a role sort of something like Pantheon is able to do with his W and his E. Interestingly enough, the devs actually specifically stated as well that they took inspiration from Xin Zhao specifically and then other Darkins and tried to make Zaahen into a combination of their kits, and I think they have perfectly done that. Even giving sort of a nod to Pantheon, who is one of the most iconic enemies of the Darkin. They did also specifically comment on the fact that people are worried about Aatrox ended up losing his revive and had to have something entirely different given to him, and what's going to happen to Zahen. As I already pointed out, I do think that the nature of him being stationary on his revive gives a lot more counterplay than Aatrox's old one, where he's like moving and doing everything like that. But also the way that he builds up to it, I think, is a lot more healthy than Aatrox, and it seems like also the devs are in agreement with that. Anyways, that is it for Zahen. I am excited to play him. I'm going to be playing him a lot on PvE and spamming a bunch of games because I just like so many things about this champion. I've been waiting a really long time for a champion like this to come out because things have been quite boring for some time. Obviously, we did get Mel and we did get Yunara, but maybe that's some of the bias in me speaking. I hope everyone else enjoys exactly what they're watching as much as I am.